This is Park the Bus with Stephen Caldwell, Kevin Kilbane and Luke Wildman.
Welcome to another episode of Park the Bus. I'm Stephen Caldwell. Welcome with Jimmy Brennan, Atiba Hutchinson and of course Kevin Kilbane. And we're doing a post-game Park the Bus of Canada-Colombia match in New Jersey, Kev. A good performance by Canada, I felt, all round.
Yeah, I thought it was a good performance. I thought there's a lot that you can admire about the game. I think you look at it, if you're being hypercritical, the chances given up late would be the only criticism you could throw at them. Because I think overall, they've kept a side that's been in form, scoring lots of goals. They kept them at bay. And that's the only thing you can do. I think if you're looking at it really overall, when it comes down to the big games, you have to stop them scoring. Because having to chase games and get 2 goals against big teams, it's unlikely going to happen. So if you're going to win a game, you want to be winning those games 1-0. So it was a tight affair, a good game. I enjoyed it. And I think Canada can take a lot from that match, David.
I thought a good game plan, a reserve game plan, guys, but had to be, didn't it, after Saturday night when Mexico were defeated 4-0 by Colombia. If they had came out Canada and tried to fully attack Colombia and left spaces in behind, particularly on the counter-attack, they would have been punished, Jimmy. So I thought that it was a reserved attitude, and it had to be, and then they grew into the game a little bit, Canada. They had some chances, but I think the only criticism I would say is not enough quality chances. In the end, it was more sort of half chances, 1v1 situations where maybe wide guys had some chances to run at players, and ultimately they didn't sort of take the handbrake off at any part of the game.
Yeah, I agree. I think, look, there was a lot of positives. We've got a clean sheet against a team that's 13th in the world. I felt that the press, the way that they were closing down, the work rate all over the park, I thought was very, very good. And I agree with you. I just think in that final third, we kind of let ourselves down.
Yeah.
And sometimes we get in good areas, but then you're looking at numbers in the box, and I don't think we have enough at times.
Oh, yeah, we said that. We said that constantly, Jimmy, coming into the game. We were trying to analyse Jonathan David and his position that he was taking up. If they're in wide positions, getting crosses in, there's very few bodies that's been getting in, and that's largely down to the distance that David Atiba's trying to make up to get into the penalty area. It's difficult, isn't it? So there's going to be a knock-on effect that you might be solid defensively, but that creativity might not necessarily be there.
Yeah, when you have Jonathan coming down, a lot deeper and trying to receive those balls and playing the game that he likes to play, you kind of lose him sometimes in the box. And I know how he is. I know he wants to help out the team, build the attack, and then try to get in maybe a little bit late. But sometimes he's kind of just searching for it. I thought overall there was a lot of good individual performances in this game. Eustaquio.
What did you like? What did you like about Eustaquio tonight?
I like Steph.
We haven't seen him play enough recently. That's been the thing, hasn't it? Really?
Exactly. Yeah, and he's trying to build that form, right? You need to get your games and stuff. Yeah. But you could see in a game like today, that's exactly what he needs. That's the old Steph that we're all used to seeing. Just bringing that presence, that calmness in the team, and really just dictating the tempo of the game. So I thought him and Kone, really worked well together.
I thought he had a point to prove with Eustaquio. He played like a man who wanted to show his club boss that he should be recognised. I think he wanted to show Jesse Marsh that I'm the man. I'm still the number 1 midfielder. He played with that attitude, I thought, tonight.
Without the ball, Steve. Yeah. That was the most impressive thing I thought about him tonight. Because
definitely.
His quality,
read things well.
Yeah, he did. And his quality will be there.
Yeah.
But it was the reading of the game and stepping in, making challenges, breaking play up. The one thing we've probably all questioned him on, maybe even Jesse Marsh has questioned that if he's not going to get in the starting 11 for Canada, which it is unthinkable to many of us, to me, absolutely is.
Me too.
It will be down to that side of the game, whereas tonight, it was faultless, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was his understanding of when to step, when to give the pressure, and reading of the game, I thought was really special tonight. Never gave the ball away once either. He was always using it well, Atiba, which is what you want to see. Not a player you expect with the defence splitting pass, but ultimately just keeping things ticking over. And at times he was the one that was stepping forward, I thought, where Kone was maybe being a bit more reserved and sort of the deeper player at times. But I think he epitomised Canada's performance tonight with that kind of attitude. And I really believe it came from a little bit of a sort of, let's call it a chip on his shoulder to show people just what he's made of, the quality that he's got. To me, he was the outstanding player in the park. Buchanan had these flashes as well, guys. I thought he he was good. He just never quite had that final product. But
I think Buchanan, his last 4 games, he's having good first halves, even first 30 minutes of the game, and he's maybe just fallen out of the game as the game's progressing on. I think that's probably fair to say with him, but he's a game changer. He is absolutely a game changer. He's someone that Canada's going to have to rely on. If Canada are going to open up a game, it will be invariably it'll be Buchanan that opens the game up for them.
Yeah, I thought at times he just never quite chose the right option. It went to be really positive against Mojica. And then other times he was sort of too positive, if you know what I mean. His decision making was just a little bit off at the highest level. He's playing against a good player, of course. A few times you felt like it was by him, Jimmy, didn't you? And then Mojica slides and makes a tackle, and a top left back. But he had the game in his hands, didn't he, Buchanan?
Look, I think with Tajan, the one thing that you'll notice in the first few minutes of a match, when he runs at that defender and he blows by him, he knows he's got him. And you just see his confidence become elevated. Right? And I think today he was a little bit unsure. He got by a couple of times and he was like, oh, hold on a minute. Maybe this is going to be a little bit more difficult than what I thought tonight. But then that's where you expect him now to start thinking about movements and trying to find, your half a yard so you can get that ball whipped in. Because he doesn't have to go all the time.
No.
Right? But it's about the service into the box.
Do you know what I think sometimes which is lacking now, whether or not it's the positions that they try to get him isolated in, it's little give and goes, link-up play when he's out wide. And I think Jesse mentioned that to us prior to the game. Maybe Jonathan David can kind of float into his area so they can get a bit of connection. There's not an awful lot of that in wide areas.
No.
Do you know what I also think, Kev? I think sometimes he comes too narrow, and I know Jesse promotes that kind of in-behind run, but at times I thought he was too narrow. Teams, he should have kept the width and allowed the ball to come right out to him, and then he's driving in towards goal, but he has the option to come inside, play a little give and goes, or sort of still go down the line or into that byline position. So I think at times, particularly Buchanan, got caught narrow when he needed the space and the width, So, I mean, I'm being hypercritical because I do feel like he was the guy that was going to find the breakthrough.
Yeah, what I like about Tage now is he's getting a good run of games, and it's been a while since we've seen that from Tajan, As of late, you'll see him play one good game and kind of just, for the next few games, he kind of just goes off, and now he's feeling like he's in form, he's looking sharp, he's comfortable receiving the ball in different parts of the pitches, and that's what we want, He's going to continue to build from there. If we can get him with those connections in and around the box with Jonathan, where Jonathan is also closer to the goal, that's going to be very beneficial for the team. So,
for sure.
There's a lot of positive things from it, I would say.
Yeah, let's jump to Harrison, New Jersey, and we've got Matthew Scianitti and Kristian Jack waiting for us in the stadium. We hear you're getting kicked out soon, guys, so we want to come to you before it's too late and they switch the lights off on you, Matthew.
Yeah, you know what, Stevie? First of all, when are you guys playing your boy band? You're all in the same uniform. What's going on? I know we talked about fashion last time, Stevie.
We've been called no direction.
Bring something.
In the touch.
I will say on that as well, though, surprisingly, when we were talking about boy band before we came on, and Jimmy Brennan said he's a fan of Backstreet Boys.
I wasn't a fan.
He went to watch them
and Stevie is singing
recently.
Backstreet Boys before we come on.
I wouldn't go to the end of the street to watch them.
Hey, you'd be surprised how many songs you guys would know, by the way.
Guys, what do we think about tonight? We've just been dissecting it a little bit there and probably being a bit too critical, because we think about Canada tonight coming off that disappointing loss to Australia and going up toe-to-toe against Colombia, who are ranked 13 in the world. It was quite impressive, wasn't it, KJ?
Yeah, I thought they were very good at times, and I, like you, think about the times when we're all talking about how do they get better, and I think that's okay as a nation. We're okay to say that we want expectations to go higher and higher because this is what this team has put us to. I'm standing here thinking about the last 3 games with a win over a European opposition by a free kick, a game that could have gone either way that was a mistake, and then a game tonight. So you put that together and you're like, okay, that's 4 points over 3 games against 3 teams from different continents. That's almost like a World Cup group.
Yes.
And then you think about the Copa America group where they played 3 games and got 1 goal as well and got through there. So we're all gearing towards what we think June's going to look like in a World Cup. I have to say, I think defensively the team is evolving in front of our eyes. I think they're not just a good defensive team. I think they're a very good defensive team now.
Your adopted son, Luke DeFougerolles, tonight was awesome,
I was just talking to Luke, and he was really tired at the end, and he's told me he's not 100%, and he's started to feel it after the game. but just another monumental performance from a young man who just turned 20 years old.
Yep.
Some really good performances.
Is he 35, that boy?
So I thought he was excellent again. And as I said, I thought defensively they were really, really good. They defend collectively as an 11, yet they attack individually as a 1 at the moment. And I want more combination play, and that will come hopefully. But when you think about it, which one would you rather have for the key to tournament success? I think they've got the right one.
Yeah, I want to... Jimmy, you made a great point, and you made it about Tajon and about what you can see in some of his initial touches, and I think we can say that about a lot of guys, and certainly when Tajon Buchanan gets on the ball and you can see him flying, he takes on his man, you know it's going to be a Tajon Buchanan kind of night. I thought he was inconsistent really tonight, but Stefan Eustaquio, we mentioned it pregame, with all the pressure and all the depth now in the middle of Canada's midfield, he came out tonight and really set the tone with the pace, with the physicality, really killing any kind of transition that Colombia was trying to build. And Luke de Fougerolles, as I've said, Derek Cornelius looked great. Obviously, Richie Larea gets a yellow card. From our perspective, it looked like the Colombian player tripped himself, but KJ heard that it might have been very close for him getting a red card.
The second one, yeah.
Irrespective of that, you can see now, especially in games like this team knows how to turn it up. It goes all the way back to that response they gave against France in Bordeaux after they lost 4-0 in Rotterdam to the Dutch. This team is not going to be pushed aside. And I've repeated this a few times on a few things that we've done post-game here, but it is true. Jesse Marsch talked about the quality in the final third, and he was very excited at the fact that they did not concede. And he talked about, listen, in a World Cup, you can't concede goals. You have to score them, though. This team can't go ahead and ride on the luck of 0-0, 0-0, 0-0, and hope to get to the round of 32. That quality has to be there if they want to progress next summer.
Matthew, KJ, I just wanted to talk to you. Stevie mentioned Stefan Eustaquio before, talking about him with a point to prove. Do you guys, in talking to him, both of you really, you've both had a chat to him, you've both been around him a lot. Did you feel as though that might have been something that was in his mind?
Oh, it felt like it.
I don't know.
You don't know?
You know why? Because I don't think he's built like that, lads. Maybe he is. I just feel like
there is a calmness about him that,
it feels as though it's been questioned, though, KJ. That's where I'm going on it, really.
No, I agree with that. This goes back to the USA game where I felt like it was a bit of a shock. He didn't play in the third place game. I don't think he played in both of these games because of match fitness. And I felt they wanted him for 90 minutes tonight, and I don't think they could have given 90 minutes on the basis of the fact that he's not playing enough for his club. Now, I don't know if that's true. You guys played the game, I didn't. They felt that way. So that's why. But I'll say consistently, and I've said the same thing ever since I saw him when he was in the stadium when he's made his debut for Orlando. Canada hasn't got a player like that.
No.
And they haven't got another player like that. And he needs to be playing every single match at a World Cup, from the whistle to whistle. And they couldn't do it in Qatar because he got injured. And Atiba knows this better than I'll ever know. But I think it affected Canada because that player is special. And, you know, Saliba and Chouanier, Kone, Osorio, there's lots of other players that can play and do a job. But they can't. They're not Stefan Eustaquio.
Yeah, but and I want to jump off that, and the point that you guys made already. This wasn't just a point, and what I mean by a point to prove may not have been for Jesse Marsch, the men's national team, but for Porto. The fact that I understand that Porto certainly has quality in that part of the pitch, but the fact of the matter is, like, Stefan Eustaquio needs to be playing regularly for his club, whether it is with Porto or somewhere else, in order for them to get those kind of quality performances. And if Canada gets quality performances like that out of Stefan Eustaquio throughout next summer's World Cup, that is going to do them very, very well.
But it's nice that he played this way tonight after he's only started one game this season. Well, no, so it shows that he can do it.
100%, but you don't want to go ahead and ride that luck all the way into May.
I understand.
So, you know, I just think if there was a point that Stefan Eustaquio wanted to prove, it's to his club at Porto to say, listen, look what I did. When Luis Diaz went off, the first person he went over to was Stefan Eustaquio. Hugged him, patted him, leaned on him. Like, he clearly had the respect of the Colombian players on the pitch. It showed certainly in his performance.
I think he saw it as a bit of a short window, guys. You know, at the end of the day, when you're not playing for your club,
that's more important, I think.
He might have to make that move in January, Kev. He's playing against quality players. Richard Rios, Benfica man. He's playing against Lerma at points in the game when he came on the field. You're playing against top-class midfielders, so you want to prove that you're capable of maybe starting for Porto, or if the move is going to come, that he's going to get the right move that he wants at Atiba, because it's very doubtful in my mind that he's going to sit around playing 10, 15 minutes off the bench the entire season. He's going to respect the fact that he plays for a great club and hope that he breaks in. But if January comes and he's still playing minutes off the bench, he's going to want to move, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, you're getting closer to the World Cup. You need to get those games in, right? The reps and just to have that confidence again. Not just the fact that you're thinking the coach might play you, whether you're playing regularly or not. You want to feel good going into a World Cup. So it's important for him to get those games. I mean, today he really stepped up. Without playing that many games, he just showed like how much of a leader he is, how much belief and confidence he has in himself. So.
But that's up to him now too, where he's got to have those hard conversations with his manager, and be saying, "We've got a World Cup coming. I need to be playing because I need to be a part of this team." And whether it's out on loan or maybe you're going to sell me.
I'd be at that stage. I would be. I'd be knocking on the door.
It has to be. Like pre-January.
Yes. Oh yeah. Now.
Like,
now up until Christmas time, I would be knocking on the door to say, look, it's too big for me to sit on the bench for 6 months. I need to play. I've got to play 20 games before the end of the season because. I think realistically, if you have that conversation with the coach are sympathetic to you. That they will try the best to try and make it happen for you with the guys upstairs, with the directors and things like that. I think they would do a T-Bar. I think that's what they would try to do to make that happen for him.
100%. It's an honest conversation. Let me know, am I in or am I out? I'm not playing, like you said, 15, 20 minutes every now and then.
It's not enough.
Yeah, I need my games.
And then he's only going to get 2 more chances at international level to play 90 minutes both games.
True.
Right? So rather than getting a scout and watch 15 minutes, these are the big games that are going to be coming up for him.
Guys, I want to talk about the attack. You know, we've mentioned how well Canada are defending at the minute, but the attack was missing against a quality team. I'll go to you first, Kev. Is it quality? Is it decision-making? Is it numbers? What do you think the key thing is here? Put yourself in Jesse Marsh's shoes. What does he need to work on with this group of players to be better in front of goal?
Well, look, he spoke to the guys after the game about he was happy with the way things went, and it's particularly after the Australia game, he felt that the team's still creating chances. I felt personally after the Australia game, a lot of the chances came in the last 10 or 15 minutes. It was a little bit scrappy, the chances, not real clear-cut, apart from Schaffelberg's chance that they had. So I feel as though that this issue with Jonathan David, he is playing deep. Probably too deep, I think. And I feel as though there's so much to admire about his play. He's opening the game up for them. He's the guy that is the real link for them. But I feel as though his work could be done 10 yards further forward. And I think the distance then, whether it was Carl Laren or tonight, Tanny was so isolated tonight. He didn't have a sniff. Didn't have a sniff. Really.
The one press where he nicked the ball back, created an attack. I think that was the only significant thing he'd done. And it's hard to criticise him entirely for that, but I just don't think he's getting enough opportunities. Now, it's not necessarily his game. There wasn't a ton of space in behind, but there has to be a way that Canada get more opportunities to both strikers. I mean, I'll ask you, because you're a midfielder, is this, we're talking about how well Eustaquio played, but is Coney and or Eustaquio making enough runs into the box? Is there enough presence and danger there that these strikers can find some space? Or is it a numbers thing? That's kind of the question I'm asking.
I think they're doing their thing and getting into the right positions of the pitch. I thought that, the team is building up very well. We get into some decent positions, and sometimes it's a matter of, like you mentioned earlier, it's a moment of, are you going to go around the player, or are you going to make that, that final pass? So maybe that last pass was kind of lacking today. That ball in between the back four and the keeper.
Or do you think there could be better connections all over the pitch?
I wouldn't say it's quality. I think the quality is there. We know how much quality we have. It's just maybe just a bit of the decision making.
I think Canada played too safe tonight. I do, and I understand why. Because they saw what happened Saturday night in Dallas, and they thought,
discipline. Be more disciplined.
We got to be careful here, because if we go gung ho,
you said that early in the game. Atiba was watching the game and said it is a bit more discipline from Eustaquio alongside Coney. Coney was deeper than Eustaquio at times.
So I don't think there was a moment in the game where one of the midfielders ran beyond the ball and ran into an inside channel where a centre back has to track that run, which creates space off the front. I felt like they always, as well as they played behind the ball and they played reasonably safe. And I think if Canada are going to open things up, they have to be more expansive in terms of a midfielder running forward at times, especially when David's operating in that 10. and they need more width at times from usually the wingers because the fullbacks like to tuck in. So I think there's like a mechanical way that they're playing at the minute that's affecting the opportunities that they get in front of goal, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the one thing I was going to say is we're playing with the two in the midfield, you know, and like we say, they're trying to be a bit more disciplined. Maybe Kone is thinking in his head, if I, make that run through, I'm just leaving Steph alone.
And if they get the ball away, we might criticise them for that. But if to score a goal at this level, you have to do something special.
And I'm just
there's to be brave.
I'm not one entirely for throwing out loads of stats here and there, but Johnny David, again, no touches in the penalty area. And I know that this is something that we can look at his quality of play. He's only scored 1 goal from open play now, really, in his last 8 games. He scored from the free kick against Romania, the penalty that he scored against Guatemala, was it? So he isn't getting the chances, but he's been clinical with the chances. I think he's had 4 shots on target and scored 3 goals. So he's clinical with the chances he's getting. Yeah. You like the numbers when I said it to you before, Atiba, but it's the lack of opportunities he's getting. Yeah. And this is what do you do? Do you almost say, just go and play a little bit closer to Carl Larin or Tejan or Promise, whoever it's going to be. Yeah. Or Tani. What do you do?
The conversion rates are, Jim, conversion rates are so strong with David. It's almost like every chance you get, you want it to be on
tonight.
On his
chance,
foot,
one chance goal.
So it's not going to happen if he's playing 30, 40 yards away from goal. You know, he has to get forward more. So again, if you are saying that Kone and Eustaquio are going to sit back and not going to get beyond the ball, he then needs to make the runs more. You know?
You have to. You absolutely do. Yeah. But the thing is too, look, and you guys know firsthand, once we get into that final third, it's all about the patterns of play, the movements, right? And the speed of play, the tempo has to be quicker. But that can be coached. And I think when Jesse's looking at it thinking, okay, defensively, I feel good. The press, I feel good. Everybody in sync, okay. And now that next move over the next couple of games is going to be that speed of play, the patterns of play, making all those runs in behind. Jonathan David gets it. He starts running. Tanny, get across the line. Tajan, you come underneath. And those patterns will come.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear for you guys, Matthew, KJ, what were you hearing for the sidelines when it comes to Jesse in terms of what were the instructions? You know, we're just chatting away there for 3 or 4 minutes on it. Was that what you felt inside the stadium, or are we a bit off? Was it more about the counter-attack of Colombia that was kind of the biggest thought, I would guess, in Canada's mind?
Keep your shape, keep your shape, keep your shape. It started from right off the word go when Dane St. Clair got Derek Cornelius and Luc de Fougerolles after about 90 seconds, brought them in, was talking to them about stay compact. They went over to Jesse a bunch of times when there was a break in play and talked about it. I think that really was the objective because they saw how devastating that Colombia could be. I mean, 13 goals in its last 3 games, many of those on the counterattack, certainly on the set piece as well. But there's a point that you guys made a little bit ago about the attack. When Canada is at its best, I think about the goals that Nico Sigur has scored when he lays the ball off and makes a run into the box, or certainly some of those slaloming runs that Ismail Kone has made, the goal he scored against Udinese, certainly the chance that he had against Wales. When Canada is expansive and goes forward, they do create opportunities, but I'm not sure that was the objective tonight, KJ.
No, I think at some point they are who we think they are. I mean, I know what we're all saying. I just think we've got a coach here who's in charge of the national team who, I don't know, I'm estimating, maybe thinks 80% of the time what they look like without the ball.
Right.
And he's done a great job with that. And that's what he believes that is the key to success and ultimately will be defined of how they perform in knockout competitions or in a World Cup. Like, he wants to get this team through and win that last 32 games to get to a last 16. That's where they dream, and that's their objective. So I think there's a few things for me. The lads picked up on a lot of the things that I thought about. I would say that they lack a little bit of balance from a left footer on the sideline, on the left side. I felt that in both the last 3 games now, that they get to the ball, they lack combinations, the fullbacks are not overlapping, so the players, the opposition's fullbacks are one-on-one with their winger, and it comes a bit predictable. It comes inside. Ali Ahmed from the right-hand side will keep coming in on his right foot. It's just who he is. He's not going to go to the byline and swing one in on the left foot. So it lacks that left foot, and Schaffelberg comes and adds a bit of difference. But the real quality would come with Alphonso Davies, though. It looks like a team that's set up now to have Alphonso play out wide as a winger. rather than left back. And I know Jesse said, oh, I want that left back because I want to have that defensive cover and the assurance of a back four. But the way that Richie Laryea continues to play, his cover on set pieces, his pace in the way he recovers the ball on set piece transitions is so important that I don't know. I think, and we've got two left footers in the studio who can speak more than me, but
I was going to say there, KJ, left footers make the game. They make the game, the left footers. It's all about left footers. We're in the minority, and we've always made it, Jimmy, haven't we? That's been the thing. I agree. Look, Ali Ahmed tonight, he struggled up against top-class opposition. And as much as we've marvelled about the way that he's played this season and everything that's gone with it, playing for the Whitecaps, he maybe hasn't had the greatest of windows, in fairness. I watched the game back, actually, from Australia last night, and I actually felt he had a couple of moments in the Australia game, but just not enough.
Yeah.
And this is the thing that we're going to be judging on, that if anyone's going to fall out, if there's going to be one player when Alphonso Davies is back, out of anyone, it will probably be Ali Ahmed.
I think so.
And that's the way that it's looking for me as well. I can't see it any other way. Richie Laryea has to play. And he was lucky tonight. I thought he should have been sent off.
Yeah, it wasn't his best game tonight, I would say, Kev, but I agree with you. He just brings something different. He has to play. But when I look at it and I look at these players, guys, it's, you know, the real quality is coming from David and hopefully Davies when he comes back. You know, you're thinking about having maybe 2 or 3 chances in a game, KJ. You want it to fall at the foot of Jonathan David or Alphonso Davies, don't you?
You do, and I think that's why Jesse Marsch is absolutely adamant at sticking to the plan. He knows they need to break down teams, but I think he feels the goals will come. The big thing for me now is with the draw in December, when they get those teams in the group, who are they going to be? And are they going to mirror like the last 3 teams they play? How many of those 3 are going to be the teams who are going to go, okay, we're going to sit back and try and see if we can beat you on the counter or in a set piece the way Australia did? And how many are going to come out and play the way like we've seen Colombia play? And I think that's important. And I think that's why Jesse Marsch likes playing top teams, because I feel like that it opens up the game and in transitional moments. So it was a scrappy game tonight. It was a game of moments. There was lots of fouls. There's not a lot of rhythm. A very typical South American match from Copa America, very similar. But I'm with you. I think Jonathan David has scored 11 goals in 25 games under Jesse Marsch. You equate that over club football form, that's not that bad at international level against the calibre of the opposition. And you think if you go into a World Cup where the team's probably going to be judged on 3, 4, hopefully 5 games, Jonathan David, I would back him to maybe score a couple in those 2 or 3 in that tournament, and that might be enough, fellas. It might be enough to get through the group and win that big game and get through to the last 16, which ultimately would be, I think, a major success.
And I understand. I'm going to put my hand up here, and I'm going to advocate for Promise David on this. And I know, Jimmy, you have done this as well. He may not fit the system exactly just what Jesse Marsch wants, and there's maybe a reason why Tani Oluwaseyi starts and runs and tries to do his best to get where the ball is going. But one thing that Promise David could actually bring late on is what he certainly does with his club, which is his size and power. And when defenses, as we saw against Australia, there came a point where he just stood in front of a defender. Defender was trying to push him and couldn't move him. And Promise David knows how to finish. So it might be an unorthodox kind of injection and a weapon to use. But here's a guy who late on, when an opposition might be exhausted, that can use his pace, can use his power, his strength, and he knows how to finish when given those opportunities on the break. So there are certain things that Jesse Marsch can employ to open defenses up late in games.
Promise won a header tonight, and it just led to about 5 or 10 seconds of randomness. Yeah. And I thought at that moment it almost led to something. It was just something different. It was just bounces, and the defenders just saw it a little bit. Okay, this is a bit different, and it led to something. And that's the element. That's the X factor that he brings. But I just don't think that Jesse's going to play him as a starter.
Do you know what, guys?
I think that's true.
No, I'll just add to that. Look, if we're talking Germany, we're talking England, we're talking Italy. They're not afraid to put a big man on and go direct. Holland in the past have done it under Van Gaal. I played against that Van Gaal team. So why? I feel as though when they brought Promise David into the game,
don't play to his strengths.
They've not played to his strengths.
Agree.
There's nothing wrong with being a bit more direct when a game is 0-0 and it's sat there and you need to do something different in a match. Play to his strengths. play wide, get crosses in, go a bit more direct at times, get runners in behind him. And it's a different way. And all what happens then, you know yourself, Steve, you're a centre-half, you drop off.
Yeah.
It then gives Johnny David more space. It gives Stefan Eustaquio more space to move into.
Totally.
And it's not what they've done when Promise David has come into the game. So maybe that could be something that, if you're asking the question, what can Canada do differently? It might be something like that, where Promise David, they target him for 20 minutes. I had Niall Quinn, one of the best strikers I played alongside, was a last 20 minutes guy. We scored against Germany in a World Cup. When Big Niall comes on, he batters 2 Germany players and Robbie Keane scores.
Yeah.
So this is what we have. That don't be afraid to do that. Don't think it's not sexy football. Go that way and use him to his strengths.
Yeah, totally agree.
And
Kev,
and to this point, Promise David is built for those kind of moments. Look at the title run-in for Union Saint-Gilloise. It's exactly what he did. On the day they won the title, it's exactly what he did. I think there is a moment next summer where Promise David can come in a game like this when Canada need either a draw to get through or a goal to get to progress on in the knockout rounds. This is a guy, to KJ's point, who can just go ahead and cause chaos.
Yeah.
And that's what he loves doing. So maybe he isn't a starter, but to that point you made about Niall Quinn, here's a guy who can come in at any moment and just completely disrupt and then inject something into the game.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate your time. Get back safe. Matthew, you be careful. Not too many beers in Manhattan, okay?
Yeah, good luck. Good luck, guys.
You're not here, Stevie. If you were here, I'd be done.
You'll be in your bed in 20 minutes. Thanks, KJ. See you guys.
Thanks, guys.
See you, boys.
See you guys.
Promise David, I want to pick up on that one. Atiba, does he have the quality? You know, it's one thing saying scoring goals in Belgium. We're saying he's not getting the right kind of service. Can Canada go to a plan B in terms of getting balls into the box to him? And does he have enough quality, enough guile that it takes at this level? You 3 know better than me. You've got way more caps than me to score goals at that level. Do you think he can do it if he gets the right kind of delivery, or does he have to develop more as a player?
I think so. I think he's shown in a very good league in Belgium, you know, what he could do, as we heard Matthew say. He's a player who has a lot of belief in himself. So it is maybe just that matter of figuring out when do we go with that way of play. You know, do we start getting balls whipped in from further out? You know, because the game that we're trying to play right now isn't working. So maybe just change it up a little bit. For me, it's an amazing thing to see that we have so many different options, you know, in the team now. We've got how many strikers that can play a different type of game and that are doing very well. So to have a big presence like that in and around the box that will fight for everything, and he's obviously very good in around goal. You know, it's a big plus for the team, Jimmy.
You don't want to put a player into a position where they're set up for failure. And as a manager, you've got to find their strengths and what he's good at. So if that's what he is good at, Promise David, which he wants to get behind, he wants to fight against defenders, he wants service into the box, then you have to provide that for him. Yeah. Because you can't ask him to play a different way. Because it doesn't.
Totally agree.
He's going to fail.
Yeah. I don't think Canada put in one good cross tonight.
No.
One good cross.
When you've got Promise David on, it doesn't have to be so. It doesn't have to be a great cross. You can hang some up.
In the area.
A little bit of variation to those sort of crosses. It's just. I felt as though every time they were in areas to cross, you say I'm trying to whip it with such precision
just
round the back line.
Just get
one
some
or
air in
two.
it.
And
well, KJ talked about the chaos with one of his flick-ons that was caused. He has a big body, Promise David. He brings chaos because no centre-half in the world wants to see him and go up against him. He's so big and so imposing, so causes panic.
If it's a floated ball, centre-halves want to fight you.
Yeah.
So if he's backing into a centre-half and the centre-half just trying to grab his jersey and pull him over and whatever it's going to be, that will be just perfect for Promise David. I think if you're trying to really smash balls into him with pace, and they're the balls that favour the defender anyway, because all you need to do is bump them off. The floaty balls are the ones the defenders struggle to deal with more. So I think that's maybe just a bit of game know-how.
But even then you have Jonathan David underneath, same pick up as it comes in.
Midfielders going up, We've really been on top of Dane St. Clair for a few games now. We've questioned him a few times, and while tonight he didn't have a lot to do, he had an outstanding save that ironically wasn't given as a save. But it was outstanding.
Were you
at that
happy you
moment.
saw that? Were you
I
happy?
was happy I saw it.
I
yeah.
know you were. I
Great
could
little
tell in your
save.
voice
Great
that
little save.
no one saw it, and you were the guy that picked up on it. And he's commentating. So yeah, that was a save. You had to get that in as quickly as
And
you
then when he
could.
gave the goal kick, I was doubting myself. Did I make the right decision? Double down on the replay. It was a great save, Kev, wasn't it?
That
a
was
big moment.
That was a very good save.
Yeah.
And, yeah, you're saying
Unconventional, really, wasn't it? The
yeah.
way
It
he
was.
gets there.
I actually felt he did quite well on the Diaz chance as well, where he just
he did.
He blocked the angle, but that was. Let's be honest now. He hasn't had big moments.
No.
We've all. I mean, I certainly have. I've said, look, where's this big moment in the Canadian jersey where you can say he's going to be number one? You know, Canada's 0-0 in a game or 1-0 up. It's going to be a game saver or a game winner. And tonight he has saved the game for them. So you have moments like that. I don't know. I just get the feeling Jesse's leaning towards Dane St.Clair anyway, regardless of what we all think, who we think it should be. I think Jesse Marsch would prefer Dane St.Clair, and I think he's almost pushed him and given him the chances to go, you go and be my number one against top-class opposition. This is your chance tonight. And in fairness, you can't fault him, Jimmy. I don't know if you can fault him for that performance tonight.
You can't. I mean, look, goalkeeper, your job is to save the ball. Keep the ball out of the back of the net. You had one.
Sounded like Roy Keane now.
No, it's true though. So you have one shot that comes in, you make your save, you've done your job.
Yeah, I know.
Well, he had two moments, didn't he? He had the Diaz angle, which I think technically was actually better goalkeeping than the save, which made him miss the target, and then the save, you know, and that was all he was asked to do, really. Yeah. But that's the life of a goalkeeper, isn't it, Jimmy?
It is.
Big
That's
moments.
why I would never want to be a goalkeeper. Just standing there for that one save.
Well, it's amazing what we've questioned him on. What we've questioned them all on. You know, has he had big moments? I felt as though he could have made saves when he hasn't made saves. But it's disheartening being a goalkeeper. Can you imagine you come in after games and you've let one in and you feel as though I've played well tonight, I've taken crosses, made a couple of saves, I've let a goal in that maybe I should have got to it. It's cost your team.
Yeah.
And it's a hard life being a goalkeeper.
So do we think that Jesse, if we're assuming that Jesse is leaning towards Dane St.Clair over Max Crépeau, is that because of club form, Kev, or because of Dane's attributes compared to Max's?
Well, Dane got back in off the back of club form, didn't he? It looked as though it was Max's to lose, and he's done little wrong in a jersey. You can't really question what Max Crépeau's done playing for Canada, but he's looked at it overall and thought, well, this guy's banging form. He's playing well for his club. Is it 10 clean sheets this season he's had for Minnesota United? Jesse has described him as the best goalkeeper in the MLS, which I would disagree with, but that's where Jesse is in him. He's trying to build up his confidence. So, I don't know. You've probably not seen as much of him playing MLS this season, but he's in form, Matiba. And this is the thing where Jesse Marsch has gone on. I think it's quite harsh that he's been judged Max Crépeau because of what's happened at Portland, but ultimately maybe now it's been proven right that big saves like that tonight, but Max has done nothing wrong, and that's the way I would go on it, really.
But then with Max as well, you've got the winter period that's coming up. He won't be playing. Is that another one that you've got to knock on the manager's door and say, hey, listen, I've got to get some...
Both won't. The season's over now anyway, so both won't be playing until
that's what I mean.
February, March time as it is. So they're both in a position now where...
You got to play somewhere, don't you?
That's what I think, but I mean, it's hard for some of these guys to get them out, especially a goalkeeper.
If Max,
he's not going to get a short-term loan,
I'm not too sure where Max.
Or you're going to
I know Max has been so limited. I think since March, April time this year. Max has been in and out the side. He's not necessarily got a good run of games.
He has to go.
He
has to.
Max Crépeau's got to find. He's got to go in January.
Or he's got no chance of playing.
No,
the first game at the World Cup.
No, I agree.
But I don't think that Jesse will make the decision and be clear on who his number one is until he allows Max Crépeau the winter to find a move, probably within MLS.
But he's still only going to have 3 or 4 games, 5 games maybe.
Yeah, but he's done enough in his body of work over 18 months that if he does get a move and he starts the season well, I still think it might be up for debate, because I do think in a lot of ways Canada look more secure when Max is playing. Yes, he looks secure tonight under Dane St.Clair, but in a lot of games they've looked a little bit shaky, whether it's his fault or the back four's fault. It's hard to tell, but there's something intangible about when Max plays, Canada looks stronger.
I agree. I'm just going to say something to Atiba there, and you can maybe elaborate on it a little bit. But when that decision is made, there's probably only going to be 4 games, 3 games maybe
Yeah.
left for Canada.
Yep.
There's pressure on that goalkeeper then in those 3 games. If he makes a mistake, then we're going back to, has he made the right decision? It's going to be questioned again, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I would think it's probably now in this next window that the decision's probably best made. Then at least we've got the winter to digest it all, and better for the goalkeeper, I feel, going into those last 2 windows ahead of the World Cup.
Yeah, 100%. And if you do, as a keeper, get those 4 games, is it certain that he's going to get all of them? You know what I mean? Like, you got to be ready for it when that moment comes. To have the games are extremely important, you know, especially for the keeper, because the team depends on the keeper so much.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't think he'll make it, but I could be wrong.
Yeah,
I think he'll keep it going.
He said it. He said he's not going to make it till March as it is.
Yeah.
So if he is going to go along that sort of line, then we won't know. We'll be in the dark until then anyway.
So Nico Sigur's rise with Canada has been crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's hardly been a backward step. Friday night comes and he makes a massive error. And he's playing against Luis Diaz in the next game.
Yeah.
And so the pressure's right on this boy. What a performance, Kev.
Right.
Much as we saw, and Luke de Fougereau, look, tonight, I think, given his age, you can think, look, this guy is sensational, really, and his lack of football. But Sigur, after that mistake, I think it shows his character. It shows what he's all about, that he knew, I've got to stop Luis Diaz at the start of this match. I've got to play up against him, stop him getting runs at me. And Luis Diaz had some really nice touches early on in the match, and you were thinking, wow, he's on it tonight. But absolutely put him out of the match. Had nothing at all. The second half starts, and I'm not saying he looked disappointed to come off, because I think he just wanted to play because they love playing for the national team, the Colombian guys. But Sigur stopped him every single time he was done. He was stopped totally in that match, and the chance he had was probably the only disappointing thing that where Sigur maybe feels he should have stopped him. But
counter attack. Really, as
look,
well, wasn't
another outstanding performance from him.
That's how you bounce back. You know, and he's a young player, only 22 years old.
What do you think of him, Atiba? You know, you've worked with a lot of good fullbacks as well. What do you think?
I've liked him. I've liked him going both ways.
Yeah.
He's looked very solid. He's taken up the right positions all the time. You know, he really makes the defensive line, solid. So.
Replacing Alistair Johnson now? What do you think?
I mean, Alistair is Mr. Consistent, you know. So,
big shout, isn't it?
Oh, it's a big one. But yeah, we've got 2 solid right backs right now. You could play Richie on the right as well. Like, we've got a lot of options.
Competition.
I've actually always felt like Jesse wants to find a way to get him on the field, whether it's
this is why
right back or centre midfield.
It goes back tonight where we were looking at it, and was it you, Jimmy? You said, "What? He's locked in, Sigur. He's locked, is he?" And I think he's in midfield. Like, you forget that he actually has played him in midfield.
Yeah.
He wants to put him in this team. He's desperate to play him because he feels as though we can trust him in every aspect of the game, doesn't he?
I think he's got too much. I think he rises to the challenge. He rises to big games. He's so athletic. He's
quicker than you think,
isn't he?
Quicker than you think.
Full of confidence. So quick and strong. His decision making is really good. He's good on the ball. He comes in with a goal here and there. He is an outstanding player, and I think for me.
So where are you going to start him then?
Well,
Alistair Johnson, you can't see it. Is he going to start ahead of Ishmael Kone?
I think he might in a certain game. I really do. I think he might start in the midfield with a specific opponent. Maybe an opponent like a Colombia, if Canada gets somebody like that in that first match. Because Sigur, whatever his instruction is, he takes it to the letter and he delivers.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's full-back, midfield, I think you want to have players where you can tell them something once, Atiba, and they go and they deliver on what you want as a coach, you know. And Sigur does that. And it's no disrespect to Saliba and Kone, who are outstanding talents, but I think when you're thinking about selecting somebody, say, in a midfield or at full-back, you're saying, I want to make sure he does the job that I ask, and I believe Sigur will do that better than most.
Yeah, and the coach will have that trust in the player, right? I think what we'll probably need to see is him play, maybe 1 or 2 games leading up to the World Cup, just to really solidify his position if he's ever going to play in the midfield. But yeah, versatile player, very, very intelligent player, and he puts in a great performance. I mean, even in the Australia game, it's just that one little mistake that he made, and it's hard. So great to see how he bounced back from it, and he leaves this window, with his head held high.
I don't think he plays ahead of Ishmael Kone. If he's continuing like he's been playing in the last 4 games, what he's been doing at Sassuolo, if he can continue that, I think Kone just...
He's been too good.
He's beautiful to me to watch him play.
He is.
I love watching him, the way that he takes the ball. And I think tonight showed me that he was just a little bit more disciplined, and he can do that now. So I think Jesse maybe has gained a little bit more trust in him tonight, Jimmy.
Yeah.
And I know there was nothing really majorly eye-catching about him tonight. He had a couple of moments, but he got through that game tonight, and you can't say to me now, Ismail Kone's played a bad game. He's just done well, done his job. And that's what was all that was needed of him tonight.
Yeah, I think
Sorry, Jim.
Sorry, I think with Kone as well, and I think what we're all witnessing is we're starting to see some maturity from him as well, and some growth.
Yeah.
Right, for club, he's doing very well at the moment. National team now, he seems to be settled, got his head right, focused, and we're just seeing this young, talented player really flourish at the moment, and that's what we expect to see. And he's only going to get better. He really is. The other thing is, too, we're talking about Sigur coming into the middle of the park, and what I love right now is that we've had different different partnerships in the middle of the park at the moment. We're not going to have the same 11 start every single World Cup match.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see that we have competition all over the pitch, and then in the middle of the park, there's different combinations that we can use.
Definitely the hardest position to choose.
Yeah.
Two or three guys will be really unfortunate. Top players will kind of miss out and start in that World Cup.
That's international football,
in
though,
that
isn't it?
position.
If you've got a good international squad of players, if you've got everybody seriously looking and playing well, that they're desperate to play for your country, this is what happens.
Yeah.
If you've got it's getting deeper and deeper, the roster, with every week, it seems, or certainly every month. So you're going to expect it then that Canada are going to leave 2 or 3 very, very good players out of the starting 11. Probably more than that, if truth be known.
Yeah.
You could say 17 or 18 of these guys, you could make an argument for them deserving to start. Look, Max and Dane St. Clair.
Yeah.
There's one straight off the bat. It's going to be Sigur or Johnson.
Yeah.
Left back, you might have Sam Adekubi getting back fit then, and we're not going to be... Sam Adekubi could be out of it. Then you've got Larea and you've got... Alphonso Davies.
Yeah.
The options that are there now are quite frightening, considering where your team was after Qatar.
I was just going to say.
And we were thinking, where are these guys going to come from?
Yeah.
This has been an unbelievable turnaround.
Yeah, defensively tonight, considering some of the people that were missing, Johnson, Davies and Bombito, to play like that was pretty spectacular, So definitely bounce back from Canada from that disappointment in Australia. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
It's good
well
chat.
done. Well done, boys.
Thank you.
Always a good one.
This is Park the Bus with Stephen Caldwell, Kevin Kilbane and Luke Wildman.